Can you separate the art from the artist? If something bad happens in a church that produces music, should we still sing their music in our churches? Let's chat.
Everything's fine.
Yeah,
Everything's
nice, easy topic for
nice,
us today.
Easy, simple, no one's got any opinions topic.
I hold in my hand the top 5 CCM groups.
Okay, groups. Okay.
On Apple Music today.
Okay.
What do you think those top 5 groups are?
Okay, so there's kind of a meme. There's like the big 3
Okay.
of Hillsong,
Yep.
Bethel,
Yep.
and then you throw Elevation in there.
Yep. So you got the top 3.
Yeah. Gosh, those last 2, that's where I was like, this is going to be a little bit trickier because the big 3 are pretty like solid and have been for the last 2 decades.
Right.
Um,
We're not including solo artists.
Okay.
So Chris Tomlin is out.
Okay.
Phil Wickham is out.
No Philly Wicks.
Lauren Daigle is out.
Okay. I'm gonna go with man, you should have had like a Steve Harvey mustache on. Steve, I'm gonna go with Maverick City.
Good answer. Good answer.
Good answer.
That is number 4.
Hey, there it is. That's the like newbie on the block. They kind of emerged in the 2010s, and everyone was like, "Oh, the big 3's broken. We've got a 4th," and it's like they're up there. They're not that up there.
There was a couple of spaces, and then Maverick City.
Yeah, they're up there.
Yeah.
4, 5.
Yeah, number 5 though.
This is where you kind of go into the Wild West.
Yeah.
Because if you're taking out specific groups, because like that takes out like Brandon Lake, that takes out most of the Maverick City guys who do stuff on their own. Brooke Ligertwood comes out immediately. Oh man. Okay. Let's see. Because I'm trying to like go through the songs that we sing.
Yeah. You did get another solo artist. Brandon Lake is up there.
Yeah.
If you want a hint.
Yeah, I would love a hint.
This is kind of associated with Hillsong. Kind of a Hillsong Junior.
Oh.
Very similar style.
Oh. Ah, dang it. I get like the I can see it's fuzzy. It's right there. Oh gosh. It's something like one of the ones is like something rhythm, and then there's another one because they do that too. Because Elevation has done that too, where they've split off into a bunch of different groups. Wait. Young and Free.
So I mean, it's still Hillsong.
Oh yeah,
but
Hillsong, Young and Free.
Good guess.
Yeah, I mean that's a little older.
Yeah.
They're not so young. They're still free, but they're not so young anymore.
Right.
That's my only guess I got.
The 5th on the top 5 is Passion.
Oh yeah.
They have a very similar sort of vibe.
They do. Okay.
Young and Free was a good guess though.
Young and Free was like 2010. They had a live and they like exploded. And it was like 2010 to 2015. Young and Free was out there.
Right.
And yeah.
Oh man, that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2015.
That
was 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay.
Time marches on.
Yeah. So top 5: Elevation, Bethel, Hillsong, Maverick City, and Passion.
Maverick City and Passion. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, you were kind of running through the songs that we sing in your head. Do we sing any songs from those top 5?
So our songbook has gone through a lot of changes and a lot of different things. So like, yes, we have sung some of those songs in the last, like, I'll call it 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
We've sung some of those songs for sure. And Maverick, I'd even include Maverick City. We've done a few of their songs, especially once you start breaking it down into the, like, Brandon Lake is super heavily involved with Maverick City, and now he's more heavily involved with Elevation. We've sung some Brandon Lake songs. Phil Wickham kind of bounces between a bunch of them, and we sing some of his stuff. And so yeah, like if you associate or if you picture a song, you're like, oh, it's that church. Yeah, that's probably there's some connections there. Yeah,
and 3 out of the 5 have kind of a direct church connection, but they're all kind of associated in some sort of way. The challenge is some of the things that have happened in these churches. And it's like, okay, well, can we separate it because it's a different department, because the music helps people, because it's theologically sound, or some songs aren't theologically sound, right? So just to run down the list of the challenges that we're dealing with, right? Elevation is well known for having some watered down kind of prosperity theology. They're very focused on bringing new people in, not about going deep too much. And it's all about how you can benefit from following Jesus. Bethel is, I can't read my own handwriting. Bethel overemphasizes miracles and prosperity. And I just in my research found out that they have a practice called grave soaking. Have you heard of that?
No.
Where if you go to a grave from someone important to the faith, then you can gain spiritual power from that. Little strange, right? That was a new one for me.
Yeah.
Hillsong is kind of at the top of the list for these things.
Yeah.
They have some very public sexual, financial, and toxic leadership scandals. And I mean, there's a whole documentary about it. It was pretty wild. Maverick City actually just has some minor internal issues, but Maverick City is also kind of associated with some of these solo artists, and those artists work with other churches, right?
Yeah, and some of those solo artists have had their own things go on, and it's kind of a collective of musicians, and it gets kind of hazy from there.
Yeah, so they're not totally clean, not totally unassociated. And then Passion, their main thing is just being associated with Hillsong. They're kind of in the same network.
Yeah.
They have a lot of overlap with speakers and musicians and songs and things like that. So it's kind of an interesting thing to look at these top 5 and to say, hey, there's some pretty legitimate challenges here when we are entering into a time and space of worship. And these are the groups that are producing the songs that we're singing.
Yeah.
How do we deal with that?
Yeah, very carefully. First and foremost, I think there's something to be said for a lot of these churches have been very widespread in terms of their reach.
Yeah.
Right? Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, they go on tours. They do a lot of different ministry, like even like Christian radio. A lot of these top 5 groups kind of dominate the Christian radio waves.
Yeah.
So I think first and foremost, it's important to acknowledge that like there's like legitimate faith that has come from the songs that these groups and these churches have put out.
Right.
And I think I want to steal a line from the Rise and Fall of Mars Hill podcast. Mike Cosper, the host, he like always at the front of each episode, he talks about it as a story of like, yes, this is a story of a church that's fallen. It's also the story of the mystery of God and how he works in broken places. So I think that's important to reckon with, is that like every church is going to have some issues, maybe not as widespread or as deep and rooted as some of these ones are, but like the thing with God working through humans is we're all broken. Even if we've been following Jesus for a really long time, we still are not perfect. We're in the process of being made more and more like Jesus all the time. And so like that's where it gets tricky, right? Because for some people, these songs that we talk about are like core to their faith in some ways. It's how they came to understand who Jesus was. Maybe they like attached their personal come to Jesus moment with a song or two. And then, to have some of this stuff come out about, especially the stuff that's like just sin, right? Whether it's aggression or sexual sin or anything that's like just out of God's calling, that's where it's really unfortunate, because then it throws everything into this light of like, well, okay, if this was going on behind the scenes, is this something that I can even hold on to and trust and worship with anymore, right? Then on the other hand, you've got like these songs that are, or these groups that are more on the theology side of like, do you agree with the theology that's being taught here? And if you don't agree, can you still sing the song?
Mhm.
Can you separate? It's almost less about separating art from artist,
Mhm.
and it's more about separating song from theology.
Yeah.
And that's a tough thing to deal with and a
Yeah.
tough thing to think through, because worship through song is actually really just reciting theology to music.
Right.
Like that's what we do on Sunday mornings. That's what artists do when they write a song.
Mhm.
And so that's the trickier part. And I'll say we do it carefully and we don't do it alone.
Mhm.
We try to look to other people in our congregation, other people in our network of people.
Mhm.
And my kind of go-to is always to err on the side of caution, right?
Yeah.
I think if there's a song from another group or another artist that hits the same like marks of theology or marks of like, hey, this is where this song is speaking to, that you can kind of sub in, let's do that.
Yeah.
And we've actually done that a fair bit here at FCC, is we've subbed in some songs from one of the groups that we do here that I don't think I've heard anywhere else, is called Porter's Gate. And so we've subbed in a few Porter's Gate songs here and there to like really kind of supplement what we feel like, okay, let's be careful with some of these songs and let's swap something new in.
Yeah. How do you kind of go about that as a worship pastor when you have a congregation and you're playing Porter's Gate and they're saying, hey, I haven't heard this song on my Christian radio.
Yeah.
This is a new song for me.
Mhm.
This is unfamiliar. How do you go about teaching like new songs in that way? Because I feel like that's a fear a lot of churches have, is like, oh, we have to play songs that people know, right?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting tension to live in, right? I think most importantly, as worship leaders, as worship pastors, as the church, we should be singing songs because of what they say or because of the worship that it brings us into, right? Not because it's comfortable or because I like how it sounds or because I know it. There are other reasons to like quote unquote retire a song outside of stuff like we don't sing all of the hymns anymore because they don't hit our cultural moment anymore.
Right.
So even for songs that like, you know what, this song doesn't necessarily speak to the cultural moment anymore, it might be time to retire it and swap something new in. We do that over time. There's been a lot of research done, and I know you and I have talked about this, and like people aren't attending church as often as like worship leaders are. We're here every Sunday almost.
Right.
So for us, singing a song 3 weeks in a row, it's like by the third week, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm done with this song. But for the church at large, there's going to be someone whose first week is that third week.
Right. And they're like, oh my gosh.
Oh, hey, new song. And it's like, yeah, we've been singing this song for a month. What do you mean new song?
Right.
But that's life. That's where we are in our culture right now. And so we do so slowly. Over time, we introduce it verbally. I'll often say something about, hey, we're going to sing a new song. It speaks to this scripture, or it speaks to this biblical piece of the story, or it speaks to this moment in our faith with Jesus. And I'll explain a little bit about it. And then especially with songs that are more upbeat, I'll generally change up the order of how the song goes a little bit. I'll sing the chorus part more at the front end to like kind of give people an introduction to the thing we're going to sing again. Then we'll jump into the rest of the song. By the time we get to that first chorus, you're like, oh, hey, I know this part.
It's not totally new.
It's not totally new right now.
Yeah.
And then when you get to sing it that second or third time, like you feel a little more comfortable with it generally.
Okay.
So like practically there's that, but also just philosophically slowly introduce stuff. And you don't on the flip side of that, you don't want to overwhelm the church either.
Right.
If we sing 4 new songs every single like month, like that's a new song a week, which means we're adding 52 new songs. That's too many new songs. No one's going to feel comfortable singing anything at that point then, right? So it's a balance.
Okay, that makes sense. So you introduce a new song, you wait a little while before doing the next one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's kind of invert the question now. Let's say that there's that Elevation drops a new album and it's blowing up on Christian radio. Right?
Yeah.
And you get 7 people coming up to you after church, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, have you heard this new Elevation song? Why aren't we playing the new Elevation song?" You go to listen to it, and you kind of just feel, maybe it's a little vague, maybe it doesn't kind of jive with the theology that we're trying to teach. How do you go about that when a song is really popular, and yet it doesn't quite fit? Like it's a bop, but the words themselves, it kind of something feels off.
So I'll give you 2 examples.
Okay.
One that's a little bit older, one that's more recent.
Okay.
So when I was a volunteer, I was in college, so this is like early 2010s. Oceans came out.
Oh, yeah.
Oceans explodes.
Yep.
Right, goes everywhere. Everyone's singing it. It's on K-Love every other song. It's on your Christian radio. It's on your iPod because we still had iPods. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? So then I'm a volunteer with student ministries. We go to camp, right? And it's this big camp. You've got worship every night. You've got teaching every night. And we started the week singing Oceans, right? And then halfway through, the worship leader, I don't think I'll ever forget this. The worship leader got up and said, "Hey, we're not going to sing Oceans the rest of this week." And he explained that it was because he had been talking with people and talking with the band and talking with students who were there, and they couldn't explain what the song was actually teaching or talking about.
Oh, yeah.
No one could really put to words what theologically the song was getting at. But oh man, it's so good.
Right.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. And every night when we would sing Oceans, you'd see hands raised, you'd see people crying.
Yeah.
And it was this moment of like, I remember as a volunteer being like a little bit like bummed because I'm like, oh, I really like Oceans.
Right.
And like I was in Bible college at the time, so I was kind of like trying to digest the words at the same time that this emotional moment was happening. But for most of these students, it was just the emotional moment.
Right. At that point, it's kind of just a concert.
At that point, it's kind of just a concert.
Yeah.
And so people were bummed. People were upset. But by the end of the week, no one was complaining. Like we still had worship. God still moved. You still saw hands raised, but we put aside Oceans because it was actually a distraction. It wasn't even like a theological discussion of like, hey, we kind of disagree with what this song is saying, but it was a distraction from what we were trying to do and what we were trying to be a part of with worship. Rather than like just vibing to the song, we're actually trying to say the words, sing the words, and kind of like internalize them or worship God for who he is.
Yeah.
And so that's a more far removed example.
Yeah, but I think it makes sense, right? And you and I have chatted about this. The first line of Oceans is like, "You call me out." If you're Monday night, you call me out. Tuesday night, you call me out. Wednesday night, you call me. It's like, okay, at what point are you getting out?
Yeah, you keep getting called out. Have you gotten out of the boat yet?
Yeah. Are you going?
Yeah.
At what point are we going? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we actually have brought it back. As a church a little bit here. We brought Oceans back out of retirement, air quotes, because it made sense in some of the worship and some of the sermons and some of the sermon series that we were in. Right. So a more recent example that's actually from Elevation, I think paired with Maverick.
Okay.
That's where it's get confusing because they like pair up together and you're like, whose song is this? It's both.
Right.
They did a song, I want to say last year or 2 years ago called Praise.
Okay.
And it exploded. Blew up over all the Christian radio. It was all over Instagram and TikTok and all the reels. And like that was the song that everyone was singing. And it's a bop. It's fast, it's fun. There's a bluegrass version of it, which is kind of cool. But the problem was, and me and Eric talked about it a little bit, and that's another thing it's important to do is like talk it out with someone. Like as a worship, if there's a worship pastor or a worship leader watching this, don't make this decision in a vacuum. Like talk it out with the community around you. We talked about the song a little bit, and we found some issue with the language of battle that was used. There was kind of this emphasis of war and drowning our enemies in praise and like not even like disagreeing on like yes, God does fight for us, right? Yes, God does like he is a God who protects us,
Mhm.
right? Like the battle of life and death has been won. So like
Yeah.
it's not disagreeing with battle imagery,
Mhm.
but the way that the song kind of used it
Mhm.
was just kind of flippant.
Mm.
And it kind of was misleading in some ways.
Mm.
And so unless you're doing the really like intense and intentional work of like dissecting a song while you're singing it,
Right.
it can be a little misleading.
Yeah.
It can kind of lead us to this place of not trusting God with our battles, but using God as a battle cry as we go in to fight.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So we ended up just not choosing to sing the song. We've never sung it at FCC. And it's, yeah, I had a few people come up and be like, "Oh, this song, this song, this song, this song," and I just with patience and kindness, you kind of have the conversation of like, "Well, we see these kind of issues with it," and most people, when you have that conversation, they're like, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense."
Mhm.
And I don't like fault anyone if you want to listen to it like in your own car or in your own time, your own headphones.
Yeah.
But like for congregational worship, we didn't think it was super a fit.
Mm.
So it's a good song musically. Like it's
Yeah.
a bop.
Yeah.
But just not a fit for what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. So I take it then that out of these top 5, it's not like throw them all out. There are still songs that we play.
Yeah. So it's not throw them all out because, and this is where it gets kind of tricky too, because on one hand you've got these top 5 groups,
Mhm.
and then you've also got like the top 5 artists,
Uh-huh.
right? The Brandon Lakes, the Phil Wickhams, the Brooke Ligertwoods, excuse me. And the 5 groups are generally connected to churches that have theology and have a more full like thing online, a full presence.
Yeah.
Is what I'll say. Whereas the individuals
Mhm.
are more just that. They're individuals. They're not necessarily publicly connected to a church or a theological base, or they might be, but they're just, that's not a part of their musical presence. So it's a, yes, we sing some of these songs still, but we also are very aware. That's something we try to do here, is we try to be aware of what's going on, and like as stuff has come out, like yeah, we've retired a few more. Especially with the, like I said, the sin stuff that comes off with Hillsong and Bethel, and when there's patterns of sin, then it's like, okay, like yeah, it's time to retire some of these songs. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'll also say that like it's not a new problem. There are 2 hymns. The hymn "It Is Well"
Okay.
was written by a guy who he wrote that song after losing his family in a terrible accident. But then you look at his theology from that point forward, and it's a little wonky. But we still sing "It Is Well."
Yeah.
And then there's another one, "Prone to Wander, Lord, I Fear, Prone to Leave." That guy who wrote that song actually did leave the faith.
Wow.
He was prone to wander. He left.
Yeah.
But we still sing that song. Like, so this is not a new issue.
Yeah.
It's more prevalent, or it feels more prevalent, because we have social media, and I can watch a church in Australia anytime I want, whereas back then we didn't have that technology.
Yeah.
So while it feels like a new issue, it's not. So it's important to like stay in the know and stay up to date on what's going on. But also, like, if there's a song that really we feel confident about, and we feel like, you know what, this really talks to the moment that we're in, with prayer and consideration, we go with it. But it's not our like, yeah, we only sing these. That's the other thing. Don't only sing these top 5. Like, if you only sing the top 5, that's not creating an echo chamber, but it's lopsiding your theology and worship. That's where stuff like Porter's Gate comes in. Another artist I really like is John Guerra. And then just kind of like balancing that out a little bit with stuff that's outside the top 5, even bringing back some hymns. Like I've been looking at some 90s worship music, or early 2000s worship music, to see if there's stuff back there that might be worth bringing back, bringing maybe up to date a little bit stylistically.
Yeah.
But there's good music that we've quote unquote retired that maybe it's time to bring out of retirement, and maybe it's time to retire some ones that we've been singing for a while.
Yeah.
So just trying to keep a balance and trying to be mindful and be cautious.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just one last question for you. Is there ever a song that's kind of like in the middle gray area where it's like, this is a great song. I just have maybe a problem with this one line in the song?
Oh man, are there? Yeah. Yeah, there's a few songs that there's you look at a song, and for the most part 99% of it you're like, all right, this is really, really great. And then there's that one line and you're like, okay, what do we do with that? One that I've heard a lot of people talk about is What a Beautiful Name. The line, you didn't want heaven without us, so Jesus, you brought heaven down. There are some churches that will call that out and say, well, in the Trinity, like there's everything is good. Like in the holy unity of God the Father, God the Son, God the Spirit, like that's good. The sentiment of you didn't want heaven without us is like, okay, yeah, God loves us so much that he brought heaven down to us. Yeah. But it's sort of confusing then, because does that mean the Trinity is like unsatisfied with itself? You didn't want heaven without us? So some churches have changed the line to, we couldn't reach heaven without you. Okay. To again, like, put the Trinity back into a place of like, all right, we are the Trinity in and of itself is self-sufficient. We are the thing. We can't get there. We can't get up to heaven without God coming down to us. So the sentiment still the same. The wording is the change. Yeah. And for the most part, that's what those end up being. Is it's music. With music, you're trying to put syllables to beats, and you're trying to make sure that you don't like slam a whole Apostles' Creed into a verse and then go into a big chorus. So some artists and some things, you'll change some wording to more fit the beat, but in doing that, you lose a little bit of the theological richness. In other ones, there are very divisive lines. So one is the hymn In Christ Alone. Yeah. In the big kind of climactic verse, the line is, there on the cross as Jesus died, the wrath of God was satisfied. Which makes God the Father sound really angry and really upset. Yeah. And you
almost need a whole sermon on the wrath of God to understand that one line in the song.
Right. And so that's where it's like, okay, that one line is sort of trippy. It kind of trips us up a little bit. So a common substitute has been, there on the cross as Jesus died, the love of God was magnified. Okay. Whereas it's a like, it's sort of a again, a refocusing of like, the wrath of God is not the focus of that action. The wrath of God is not the focus of the crucifixion. The love of God for us. That's the magnification of that. That's what. So some churches will flip that around. Okay. You get sort of, I don't know how to feel about that. I'll like, because the author of the hymn has come out and said, like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't
you
do that.
almost create some new problems. Yeah. When you start to change it around, because then you basically are just changing the theology from one stance to another stance. Yeah. And then different people might have an issue with that stance. So it's like, it gets a little bit messy, it seems like.
Yeah, so generally, like, I don't love changing lyrics of songs, and because we live in the technological age, generally you can find a song that fits that theological moment just as well. That being said, like, I jam out to In Christ Alone on my own personal time. Like, I don't want to fault anyone for listening to something in their own headphones in their own car. Like, if God speaks to you through that moment, cool. Yeah. But just be balanced.
Yeah. Yeah. On one hand, doing a deep dive on the wrath of God and really understanding it is really rich and theological and can help you mature as a Christian. Yeah. On the other hand, I understand the word wrath has a lot of baggage in English that it doesn't have in Hebrew.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that perspective. I know that occasionally we'll switch around a word here or there. Not to the extent of those songs.
Yeah.
Where then it kind of starts to get messy when you're trading out whole lines of things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
kind of to avoid the baggage a little bit.
Yeah. One example of that is in the song "Grace Alone."
Mhm.
The line in the recording is and in love before you laid the world's foundation, you predestined to adopt us as your own.
Mm-hmm.
The word predestined, if you're in the theological kind of sphere, you immediately think of John Calvin, you immediately think of Tulip, you immediately think of like, okay, the predestined chosen, the elect, whatever.
Right.
If you're not in those theological circles, you don't think that.
Yeah, it just sounds like a church word.
Just sounds like a church word, which in and of itself is another thing to talk about with worship music, is how churchy is your church music.
Yeah.
But we changed the word to, and in love before you laid the world's foundation, you had chosen to adopt us as your own. Because theologically, same thing.
Right.
You are choosing to adopt us. God has chosen to adopt us. The word predestined can just be a stumbling block a little bit for people if you're in that religious sphere. So
yeah, it's a little bit divisive theologically.
Yes.
But chosen is kind of like, it could be either way.
Yeah.
So we kind of avoid all of the mess a
Yeah.
little bit.
And that's the hope. If you might have heard like a worship pastor before say like the hope with worship ministry is to not be a distraction. We are there to like, yes, we play the music and we make the sounds to like sing to, but we're also trying to not like bring the attention onto ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I think that's another thing to be considered when you're talking about some of these songs from these other churches, is if someone's listening to a song and they go, oh, this is from this church that's had this problem recently, and that brings them out of worship, that's something to consider as well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thanks for sitting down. I really appreciate the chat, and I feel like I have a lot of good insight into worship music now.
Of course, yeah. Happy to be here.